Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our Planning and Heritage Committee meeting. And I'll call the meeting to order. Do we have any declarations of conflicts? Okay. Seeing none, can I have an approval of the agenda? Moved by Councillor Beck, seconded by His Worship. Okay. And an adoption of the minutes from the last Planning Committee meeting on January 18th. Moved by His Worship, seconded by Councillor Beck. Any business arising from those minutes? Okay. Okay, we can move right on then to discussion items. And the first one would be the proposed public meeting schedules for the official plan. So I'll turn that right over to our manager, Alex.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So our consultants have, as a part of their contract, agreed to come to Charlottetown before the primary public meeting on the official plan, and their intent was to see whether they could, in the time frame that they were here, have 5 public meetings and do 2 wards every evening. But one of the dates that they had proposed was a Sunday, and that's always a little bit, some people don't mind Sundays, other people do mind Sunday. So in light of that, we have, I just wanted to inform this group, and you can inform your colleagues, that those other dates, I think it's March 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, will be scheduled for meetings in the various wards. But in light of my dilemma that in order to have the consultant find some space for that additional meeting, if we wanted to have one more meeting in 2 wards, I'm likely going to have to ask them to stay over, and then it's going to carry into the next week. And I see in the next week, you folks are busy on Monday and Tuesday. So I'm wondering if you're in agreement, what we'll do is we'll do the 2 big wards, we'll have the 2 largest population wards. We'll do that, so 2 wards in one evening, and then we'll do another 2 wards in one evening. So that's 4 wards. Those will be the 4 largest wards if they're contiguous. And then we'll do 3 wards on the other 2 nights, and then we'll meet the target. And then what I was thinking, in order to mitigate the concern over anybody we've missed, we will live stream likely what we deem to be the largest meeting. We'll live stream it, and then we'll put it up on the website so that it should cover everyone. If you couldn't make one of those meetings, you'll be able to see it on our website. The consultant can come in. There's quite a group of them. They fly in and they have a budget, so I have to be mindful of that. So if we could make those 4 dates work, we are working with the schools in regard to, and our own facilities in regard to the nights that they will be available. As soon as we pin them down, I can circulate that to all of you folks, but I just wanted to get a place marker for those 4 dates, and that so one of your colleagues may say, well, why are there 3 wards in this evening as opposed to, I see where my colleague, there's only 2 wards at that public meeting. But I think with that sort of scenario, and including the fact that we will post one of those meetings online, it should cover the territory. Keeping in mind, these are just information meetings. These aren't public meetings in regard to the decisions that are being made. This is seeking feedback. So I need to get back to the consultant and indicate that they either need to extend their time or they can work within those 4 nights. So that's what I was hoping to just get some clarification on. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So just to be clear, there's nothing on the 19th now, on the
Correct,
Sunday?
correct,
Okay,
yep.
because I'm away.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, I can't miss any of these meetings.
Right, yeah.
So if you were worried, what about if you were worried about the communities not getting, dividing it into 2, and 2? What about if there was an afternoon meeting? I suppose some people can't make it in the afternoon.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
never
many
mind.
of these meetings has to do with the process, and you try to make it as fair as possible and as accommodating. And if you change it, somewhat, I mean, people, are concerned that their opportunity was possibly less than somebody else's. But, that's what we've had some discussion in the department about how to best accommodate that. And I think that that should work in regard, as long as we've got big enough venues that, enough people can attend these meetings, and they can, there'll be a formal presentation, and then there'll be a walk around the room. They can talk to the consultant. We can certainly, start to generate that dialogue that we're intending to do as part of this process.
Just where are you thinking you're going to have these sessions?
We are hoping to have one in the library, but there's some issues there that we're hoping that will be resolved soon. Some of them will be in the schools, because the school is a good venue, good parking, and big rooms. So we're just nailing these dates down now. But before we do the pairing in regard to what wards will be kind of put together in any given night, we'll come back and seek either through the chair or through this committee. This is what we're thinking we can achieve over that 4-night period. Is everybody in agreement that they think this will work?
Does anyone else have questions?
Madam Chair, so the last time that we went through this, Alex, was back in 1999, and I attended a couple of those meetings that were held at the Charlottetown Hotel. And the information, I went to a couple of them, so the information was the same
Right.
meeting to meeting. So
Right.
we're not, because we're going into Ward 3 and 4,
Right.
the information that will be discussed by the consultants will not pertain to wards 3 and
Right.
4. It's
Exactly.
again about the whole city and the official plan. So I think we have to get that word out. It's a discussion about the whole city, not about the wards that we're consolidating for the meetings. And the format that was used back in '99 was similar to what we've used for these public meetings that we've been doing for many, many years. Council sits up at the front, and then there are speakers, there are mics that are on the floor. Because the consultants are going to be presenting this report, a lot of the questions and answers will be a back and forth with the consultants, not with the council. So do you have an idea of how you want to set this up for
The only
council?
thing that I would suggest that somebody's going to need to chair that meeting because of, they're going to have to be sort of exactly, and then to explain what we're trying to achieve in any given evening. And keeping in mind, because this is being presented by the consultant, I'll be there, or all of our staff will be there, but we will not be directly involved. I mean, we will finalize that in regard to where do we go from the meeting this evening in regard to people's questions. I mean, we're there to gather the information to give us some feedback, and by heading out into the majority of those wards, hopefully you're going to get a consistent message in regard to what they like, what they don't like, and then council can advise through either our committee that we have dealing with overseeing the official plan that we need to make some adjustments. But it is the first test in regard to how do people perceive where we're going on the official plan.
And Madam Chair, just as supplementary, the meetings that took place in 1999 were also about the zoning and development bylaw amendments to, this is only about the official plan. So the official plan is the umbrella for everything that we do within the zoning and development bylaw. And again, I want to stress, the information will not be any different from the meeting for wards 2 and 3, the meetings for 9 and 10, so that we can clearly get as much information, clarification from the residents on what's being proposed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I heard you mention that you were only going to live stream some of the meetings?
Right. The problem with that is just that, we're already committed to, we have a contract with these consultants, and so they've built that in, that they'll do the public meetings, but there's still, even the way that they're scheduled now, there's some additional expense for the city. But those, WebExing those meetings or doing them the way we do a standard public meeting, I mean, council can do that, but that's at least $10,000, $12,000 more to host these meetings. There will be Pedro will be there for the sound system, and then on one of the meetings he will record one meeting, and then we'll post that one after that.
Madam Chair, I think that the money would be well spent if we do it all live stream. So I would put that in the plan, Mr. Forbes.
I wouldn't, I think the meetings are, I think it's general information for pretty much every meeting, so I don't see a need to have every meeting live streamed. I think the idea is to have one out there, so the people, if they can't make it to any meeting, they're gonna get the same information, the information is being, if I understand it correctly, Alex, the information is the same at every meeting, so there might be a varying context, but the purpose of this whole, there may be different discussions from ward to ward, possibly. However, the main purpose of this meeting is to get the overriding presentation from the consultants out there, to get that main primary information. Whether there's contextual differences from ward to ward, I don't think is really necessarily worth it. I think the main goal is that if someone can't make a meeting, at least we have a backup plan, then we can go and say, here, go to the city YouTube site, check it out, and say, here's the information of what we're talking about. That would be my view. I don't know if there's an added expense and it's going to beef up that, I don't know if that's really worth it. I think that's something that we could have, just my opinion.
If I could just respond, Madam Chair. The added expense, again, would be part of the money that is coming through the Build Canada Fund. So 100% of this whole overall or comprehensive review of the official plan is money coming from the Community Development Fund or the Community Building Fund. If we have to add a little more to ensure that all the information is out there, and Councillor Beck, I've been at many meetings and sometimes the same subject, but various opinions coming from various people from various parts of the city. So it's worth the cost to me. And if I could ask, Madam Chair, if we could get a guesstimation what it will cost to do the 5 meetings or whatever number it is for live stream.
Yeah, that's, and there's just another little complexity with running those WebEx meetings. We WebEx all of our public meetings, but they're on relatively focused discussions. The concern is if you open up WebEx and you've got 100 people on WebEx, the problem is that lots of people don't know how to use WebEx. They don't mute, and the meeting you can lose control of the larger group that you get on WebEx. So that was a concern as well, because you know, even when you're having your council meeting, sometimes somebody leaves the mic on and you have to tell them to mute. Well, if you're in the middle of a meeting and there's 100 people, it's kind of hard to isolate who isn't muting, who isn't muting. So anyway, we can do it if that's what the council wants. It is not budgeted. This is not budgeted. This isn't something that we can just sort of ask the consultant to do. It will have to come out of my budget, and I'm kind of skinny on budget, but we can find it if you so desire.
And I just was listening to the director on the side. It could be just the presentation that goes up on the website too, rather than even live streaming any meetings. At least the information's consistent and it's there. And if people are really interested, I'm sure they're going to find one night in 4 to attend, or they can attend all 4 nights if they're really thinking that there's going to be different messaging. And the other thing is, I don't know if we ever use Google Meets, but with Google Meet, you can control that nobody listens, and you can just present and they can sit and watch, but you're in control of anybody having any kind of opportunity for discussion and stuff. So.
And I see Alan, who would be the person who would have done that meeting, has got something to provide.
I think the other option is if we don't do WebEx, we'll just do a live stream, and then there's no
Yeah,
opportunity for people to ask.
Yeah,
at the
that's what
live
I'm saying.
stream
That's what I'm live stream, WebEx, Google Meet, Zoom, live stream it. That's so everybody can see and hear
It's
it.
just live stream isn't interactive. WebEx is interactive. So yeah, and that's what we had anticipated. We would live stream one of the meetings and then record that meeting, put it on the website. Okay.
So just so I'm clear now, we're not going to WebEx any meeting, but we're going to live stream all 4 of them.
No, we're going to live stream one of them.
WebEx one and live stream all the others.
No, WebEx is the problem with WebEx is it just I don't even know who internally here is going to run the WebEx, but the reality is WebEx is you can sort of if you get too many people using WebEx in a given evening, it's really hard to manage that system. So look, we can live stream them all, but again, that's more money. I mean, it's, and the problem is we're heading out into facilities. If we use a school, they may or may not have the technology to run that. So and that may change the venue. So there's always issues with technology a little bit, but I'll take your direction.
Looking for some direction from committee, but just to reiterate, this official plan is the plan for the residents of Charlottetown, and I think the more public engagement that we can do, the better. So I would think this has not been done since 1999. So we don't want those missteps, because we can't, once we start the process, it's really hard to go back. So I think we want to give the opportunity to the residents as much as absolutely possible for them to hear and to attend. Anyhow, I'll leave that up to committee for any further discussion and direction.
If I could speak, I don't know what if I understand it correctly, Alex, this is an information presenting meeting, right? The engagement part is not a big component of it. Is it more so information, or is it information and engagement?
What it is, the consultant will give a really a big overview on the whole document. There will be opportunities for questions and answers for the public. We'll likely, after the formal presentation, you'll likely have access to these applicants. We'll have some boards around where you can walk around. The problem with engagement is that you have to factor in, some people like the go to the mic, other people won't go to the mic, so you need to leave an opportunity for both methodologies. So some people will like to ask questions at the mic, other people would like to just go over and privately ask a question to the consultant. So it's just really putting the document on the table, and then there'll be a lot of discussion. Once the document is released, then people will look at it in much more detail. The only thing that's going to change from meeting to meeting is the questions from the residents. That's the only thing that will change. The presentation will be the exact same.
But those questions can instigate and trigger a whole lot of different thought processes for people that might not have had those original thoughts. So for the amount of money, I'd be comfortable live streaming the meetings and letting people who are engaged be as engaged as they can.
So just my last comment is we can do that as long as the venues that we've secured have the ability for WebEx, or for just streaming.
Can we just make sure that the venues we do secure can do it? Instead of trying to stretch ourselves to fit what they are, why can't we just choose venues that can provide us with the ability to live stream?
It's just when you head out into certain wards, the opportunities are limited for allocations. We even tried some of the community centers, our own community centers, we can't even get them. So, and then that was the issue in them as well, whether they would have the capacity to live stream. I'm not a highly technical person, so we can go to Mr. Bader, tell him the venues that we have. I can do a follow-up after this meeting because I'm going to have to do a follow-up anyways, that this is the kind of the sequence of the nights, the wards that will be in play, and I'll bring that back to you folks. And then, but we'll look into it in regard to whether those venues can be able to accommodate. It's amazing because the Canada Games, how many things are booked up. I mean, that's primarily February, but this is in March, but we were surprised that two months out, a lot of locations that we thought were easy to get were not that easy. So we'll endeavor to get those sites. I'll get back to you folks in regard to what we're able to secure and where.
Thank you. Anything else before we move on? Okay. So now we are moving on to our next discussion item, which is our growth management study. Over to you again, Mr. Forbes.
Okay, so look, I'm just looking at the time here, and I know you folks have got a busy day, What I wanted to do, just with the growth management study, I want to give you a real high-level overview of why, in my humble opinion, the growth management tool is excellent to be heading into this new review of the official plan. Just a reminder, the growth management strategy came out of our colleagues in the Water and Sewer Department. This report was, requested so that they can plan well into the future in regard to infrastructure upgrades they're going to need moving into the future, 10, 20 years. Those investments have to be made well in advance of when something fails. And so, this is an opportunity for us to piggyback on the growth management strategy. What I hope to do with you today is show you the linkage between all of these, various plans that we have in place and the preparation for the upcoming official plan. So you were circulated, the chapter 2 that was in the growth management study gives an overview of what the report is intending to achieve. So they talk about the growth scenario overview, which I'm going to speak about today, but it also deals with the water system master plan. So Mr. McEwen will be bringing this forward to you in the future. Sanitary source system master plan, transportation system review, which is Mr. Adams, stormwater systems review, which is Mr. Adams, asset management plan, which is Paul Johnson, and these are all services that are interconnected and should be planned together at the same time. I wasn't planning to expend all of today to give the overview of what they're going to achieve for the other departments, but I just thought I would indicate how this document relates back to planning. And under project goals, it's one of the key things that they said, understand how growth may affect municipal and servicing boundaries. And that's definitely pertains to planning. Understand what the future infrastructure needs will be for the city's infrastructure systems. And then understand the priorities from the leaders, mayor and council, the water and sewer utility, public works, planning, infrastructure and asset management, which I just referred to. They're all in play on this. And then, so the study itself was put together, and these are the questions that they're asking. What is the appropriate growth level for the time frame of the strategy? What does the city need to do to ensure balanced growth? Should the city consider a boundary change to accommodate future growth? What decisions must be made as a result of this process? Is the city capable of providing the infrastructure to accommodate growth? And how can the community character be maintained? And that last one is definitely pertains to planning. We've had some discussion before, and we do have a transportation plan for in and around West Royalty that Mr. Adams recently undertook. I suspect there'll be, in the fullness of time, more transportation studies that will feed into not only the growth management study, but also into the planning regime. But just under transportation alone, understand and quantify the existing travel demand patterns through the city, reproduce observed vehicular volumes on the city's network under the existing condition scenarios using their, that's a special tool that they use, and evaluate the current volume to capacity ratio. So that's, again, just us working with Mr. Adams, estimate future travel demands, giving anticipated population, and that's what we're really dealing with today. We have to make some changes moving forward on the new official plan because of population growth, and that's also tied to employment growth. Evaluate the impacts of the increased travel on the road network given planned road improvements, and test alternative interventions in regard to, if we fixed University Avenue, say, and did it one way, how does that improve it and buy us some time opportunity, then we don't have to improve another road network. So at any rate, just in regard to the time horizons on the growth management plan, so they're indicating in this, the short term is 10 years, the medium term is 20 years.
Alex?
Yeah.
Can I stop you there for a sec? Can you tell us where you're referring to here? I'm kind of having a hard time following where you're at exactly. Can you?
Okay, so it was in
I
your,
noticed, I was trying to catch something you were reading there earlier, but I'm not exactly
Right.
sure what page you're on or anything right
so it's
now.
on page, could be working on, I'm on page 15. What I'm going to do is I'm just giving the lead up into the growth management scenarios. It should be in the presentation that was emailed out to you. It's oh, okay, it's in your package. Yep, yep.
Yeah,
So, so I'm on page,
15,
yeah, 1-5.
yeah, 2.5 scenario planning.
I'm just wondering, I know we've had our package for a few days, but there's a lot. I would think we're going to need to read this a few times, more than just today.
I never saw this document before today.
I can't, I couldn't read this off an email, so.
I know, this is the first time I've seen this document.
So look, we can reschedule. I mean, it's, this wasn't, today wasn't going to be the only day that we were going to expend on this, but look, I mean, I want to make this as easy as possible. It is very data dense.
Absolutely.
There was not going to be any decision-making coming out of it today, just like high level, and allow you to go away and review it, and then come back and we can discuss it. So no decisions were intended today, but if you have the time, I can sort of give you just the high-level overview, and you can take it away, and we can reschedule to discuss it in more detail.
For me, I'm okay. If you want to give a high-level overview, the way I will get the most out of your high-level overview is to familiarize myself with what's
Sure,
in
so look,
there.
I'm here.
I just don't want, for me, listening, I'm finding it hard until I actually have a chance to kind of become familiar, but that's just me personally, and I'm certainly open to whatever
it's
is
a
best
big-
for the committee.
It's a big document, and there's a lot of information.
And it's not even the whole document, but that's why I just sort of tried to focus on ours. And you're going to get a full presentation on this from Mr. McEwen at council, and I'm just focusing on the planning components. And Mr. McEwen keeps teasing me because he paid for the study, but I seem to be more keen about it because there's a really nice, it's really it's a forward heading into the official plan process, dealing with taxes, efficient allocation of resources. If for those that have taken business classes, it's kind of like strategy. How should we move forward? How do we deal with this population increase, which is coming at us much faster than it's ever come at us in the past? So it's really implying, we're in a position to respond to that, but we have to be mindful of that the old norm of just kind of moving along, accepting growth, and the way that growth happened in the city is likely not going to meet the demand in the future. So we need to make some changes. So I knew today when I had to start somewhere, and I knew that this could be a little overwhelming, and it wasn't my intent. But I'm here to do whatever you would like me to do with it.
I guess from my end, Alex, I think for now if you can sort of, you said some of these are planning particular, or planning and heritage particular. There might be some that might be under sewer and water, environmental and sustainability. I mean, if you want to continue on with the overview about
Sure.
what is it particularly that we may be drawing attention to, that might be helpful, at least for me, I don't know, in terms of
Sure.
setting some of that stuff.
Sure. So I would just indicate, typically when you do an official plan review, you don't have this document. So this is a document that is providing information we typically don't have. We have little dribs and drabs of it heading into an official plan, but because of the nature of the study, we've got a lot more data and information to help us make decisions. So what this document is dealing with is when you take it away, you read it over, but it gives you 4 growth scenarios, and it talks about the fact that Charlottetown is growing very readily, and if you look at that chapter 2 in that study, the growth scenario overview, it alludes to the fact that the future growth rates and establishes plausible future development scenarios for the city. So what we're trying to do is we can now see the trajectory of how much growth we're going to be receiving in the next 10 to 20 years, and then how are we going to respond to that growth as we craft the official plan in regard to how development will happen in the future. So they're relying on some information that came from the Department of Finance. That was in March of 2021. It's called the Statistics Bureau. And so they're giving projections from 2021 to the year 2060, and they show a curve inside of the document that was sent out, and they're indicating that that's a medium growth scenario. That's not the highest growth curve that could occur, but it's not the lowest as well. So it's the one that they think is most realistic. And the key thing is to keep in mind is the city could grow from 36,000 residents in 2016 to 58,866 by 2060. And even though that sounds like a long time away, if you think of the history of Charlottetown, that is a significant amount of population to add in the, that's 35 years. So that's the reason why this document is helpful. And it also goes on to say that the 2021 Charlottetown Regional Growth Strategy and Housing Needs Assessment includes 3 population projections for Charlottetown region broken down by regional subdivisions. And basically that's how they collect data. And then they're indicating this intermediate scenario is based on the migration rates from 2011 to 2021 periods, and predicts, again, by 2041, the 18,000 residents will be living in Charlottetown. And then they go, nevertheless, several projections independently prepared by separate authors agree that Charlottetown is expected to grow by 25% over the next few decades. So this is just really highlighting the urgency to accommodate to the situation that's very good for a city to have, and that's to accommodate growth really quickly. And that is not a scenario that we're used to. And we've been trying to catch up since 2018. We've been under tremendous pressure in every department in the city to respond to the level of growth that's occurring. You hear every day that people can't get places to live, that even if you got all of your approvals, it's hard to find a contractor. So that's all sort of a part of this.
Alex, could I
Yep.
just, Alex, I'm just looking at your 2.4 population projections that you're talking about, and then you're on to the next one, the graph on page 13. So you have it, it states that 36,094 residents in 2016. We're 8 years later from that date. So we're in let's say closer to 2026. Or 2021, and it's just a little over 30. I thought our population was at 40,000 right now.
It is, but it's these.
So that graph is off. What I'm saying, Alex, is that as you've heard the Prime Minister and the federal government of Canada, is that they're at about 450,000 new immigrants every year. They're going up to 500 in 2024, and I'm sure it's going to continue going up where we're accepting or bringing in new immigrants. And though that population will be spread across the country, so you'll see, I think, some of these projections for 2060, we're looking at 58,000 or 59,000. I think it's going to be more than that. Then if you look at our sister communities, Stratford and Cornwall, they are going to also increase exponentially, and that adds again more pressure on our infrastructure here in the city of Charlottetown. So I think that we can take these for the face value, but definitely going to be a little higher than what we're seeing here in the graphs. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. The data collection is always tricky because you can only rely on. We don't have. Well, we have some data, but the key data providers there's always a lag. Always a lag in CMHC data, always a lag in the census data. So the consultants only can grab what they can get at the time that they wrote the report. it's, all this is really intending to do is saying that it's not something that may happen in the future. This pressure on growth in the city is going to be significant. We haven't encountered it before, and we need to respond to it, is really what they're just implying.
And just in answer to the question that was made by, or asked by Councillor Beck, maybe not a question, that he didn't receive the email, yet you didn't receive it because you were not on the email list going out. But I did have, and again, no fault of Ellen. I'm sure that it just didn't include Councillor Norman Beck.
I didn't take any offense to that. I'm okay.
And just, I'm just going to throw this out, and I'll continue on, but because of what's in this document, I suspect that you folks will, if you're having a slow weekend and you get into it, you will, if you want to just schedule a meeting to come in, because I think what you're going to find, the more time that you expend in it, the more interesting you're going to find it. Again, I've been doing this a long time, and it's hard to convince people why you have to move off the status quo. And there's a lot of information in here that indicates why we need to move off the status quo, and that's always hard to get people to move off of a position. But, I hate to be melodramatic, but there's a population tsunami coming, and we need to prepare for it. And the official plan, I'm just under one of those pages that I'm just looking at right now, and really all I wanted to convey to you today, it says under the scenario planning, and that's going to be for council to deal with. And it's not only going to be my scenario, it's going to be Mr. Adams' scenario, Mr. Richard McEwen's scenario. It's the corporate strategy. But if you look at the three things that they're alluding to that coming out of the growth management study.
Page 5.
I've got it, you have a different
24?
version. So it's on 2.2, 2.51 introduction. And just before the guiding principles, it says, in order to present a realistic picture of future scenarios cannot be merely hypothetical, but need to be based on a combination of the following. And that's past trends, and that's how consultants operate, is that where were we in the past? Because that's the best predictor. What were things in the past? Population projections, which this document puts a lot of emphasis on. And then, but the tool to deal with it as we move forward is the official policies on development. So that's really all I wanted to convey today. We can have lots of opportunity. You don't have to make any decisions on this today. It is a dense document. You'll get multiple opportunities to be briefed on this by other staff. But typically when you go into an OP, you go out to the public and then the public will respond, but they don't understand why some of those policies may differ from what they've been in the past because you're trying to address this amount of population growth that's occurring. The vacancy rate, which we, with the $202 million that we did last year, the highest on record in Charlottetown, we've blown by other communities that get 30 more thousand people than we do. The vacancy rate is still declining. We responded to it initially for a year or a defined period of time, but again, the people keep moving in, and we're not accommodating people readily enough. And if you can't accommodate people readily enough, then you can't get people to work in your community because they can't afford it if they can't find a location. So there's some really significant issues that have to be resolved as we move forward, and we'll have lots of opportunity to talk about the OP, but this is really things that set up the official plan. And Councillor.
And I think it's great information, and you just nailed it. I think our job will be to really make sure we break this down into language that people comprehend and understand, because this is a very detailed and dense report. So we need to make sure that we're educating the residents as we're going through this process about why and what and how.
Yeah, no, that's why we're here, and I'm, the key people when we're out at public meetings. I mean, that's why we're going to get this little subcommittee of people as well, so that there's a subset of people within the organization understands why, like, if there's something being projected in the official plan and the public, readily just say, well, we don't like this because this isn't how it was before, at least, I'm not the decision maker, but as long as people realize there's a reason why it's in there, and it's to respond to this issue, and it's population growth driven, how do we ensure that there's a place for everybody in this community? So a few other, so there are some guiding principles that the growth management study at a high level: ensure the efficient use of municipal services, promote compact urban form and infill development, and you're going to see lots of scenarios, and I find them very interesting. Inside this document, they've taken 20 little subsets, so they would have taken a block in the downtown, a block in Parkdale, a block in West Royalty, and they're all different forms of development. And then they do the costing on what it costs us, the revenue that's being returned to us, and then why is it into your interest to do some more compact development. And I think it's in the report that I think 30% of all of the taxes in the city is collected south of Euston Street. It's the downtown, Councilor Yankoff's ward. But it's just a matter of that. And you know what the unique thing is about downtown? It's about mixed use and it's about density. Brighton is another interesting. Brighton is. It's interesting, just the evolution of things. Paul Johnson once told me that, when people in 1910, they would talk about their cottage they had in Brighton. So that's where people, right. So Brighton was one of the first suburban neighborhoods, but as a so-called suburban neighborhood, it's more densely populated than the newer ones that came in the 60s and 70s. So we'll have an opportunity to have this discussion in regard how they're laid out. And everyone always says we pay a lot of taxes, but nobody really knows what it costs the city to provide the services on those taxes. And the form of development is critical to the financial, both viability, stability. And again, I'm not a politician, but when you hit the boundary in regard to, depending on how you allow the city to grow out to the boundary, that's a discussion for future councils, but it's just a matter of, typically you want to be as efficient as you can before you have to move, because you're literally up to your boundary and there's no other place to move to. So that's just a part of the discussion.
So one thing you are saying there, Alex. Oh, sorry, Madam Chair. Yep. One thing that you are trying to warm us up to is that density is going to be the issue in the coming years for the city of Charlottetown, because I think there is one recommendation that either we look at extending our boundaries, and that brings up all types of fares to our neighboring communities to the east and to the west. That density will be one of the key components in addressing the population increases, and also the taxing or the growing use of our infrastructure. So yeah, I think there's some good points in here, but we have to sell it to the public.
Yeah, look, and I just mentioned I'm not a politician, but the reality is that the more informed you are, this document, in my mind, is helpful in regard to why the consultant is making the recommendations they are, and it's going to come in next. Now, you folks are, you are the leaders of this community. You can either accept it or not. But before we just start right into this is where we think some density should be, we're just trying to indicate why do we even need to make those decisions now. And when we go out to the public, this document, the official plan, will be massaged. There'll be back and forth on it. But the key thing is that we just need to inform. I need to do my best with my colleagues on the management team here at the city, why that these questions, this document is asking questions, and it's not exclusively saying you must go in a direction. It's just saying you must think of these things and hopefully make a decision on which direction you would like to take. So And I see, just in the interest of time, I mean, that's all I knew that this would be sort of a, again, it's a document that's got lots of information in it. And, for some people, it would be dry, but it's good.
Alex, just to be clear, you didn't give us the entire growth management strategy, did you?
I'm looking at Ellen. We just gave the chapter 2?
Yeah, that's what I
Right,
mean.
yeah,
Yes, just
exactly.
chapter
Yep.
2.
Yep, right. Yeah, because I know the table of contents just doesn't line up with
Right,
what
sure.
we have.
And Mr. McEwen will bring forward, it's primarily their document. So through other committees and all of council, he'll bring in the rest of it. I'm just taking out the piece is kind of the lead into the official plan discussion.
At some point, are we going to get the complete document?
You can, sure. I mean, the only reason that I just sort of thought I'd spare you today is in regard to the volume of information in the whole document.
I just mean that if we had the complete document, then, as you said, our Friday night reading, we could be picking away at it.
Sure, yeah, no, we can send that around. I mean, it's, but just keep in mind that,
Oh, I know, but it's hard, like, if we don't have the whole thing, it's hard
you're
for us
going to find those chapters are very different. Like it's, right, it's about, right.
Okay,
But, the fun part. Yeah.
all right. Okay, so, we're going to move on. Does that work?
Just before we close, so
Yes.
the growth management study from 2019 is complete.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, great.
All right, so we are going to need a motion to move in to closed section.
No,
session.
Madam Chair, I think we're doing request to reduce the retired. See, do you have the updated?
Oh, right, I'm so sorry, right, I
Yeah,
have two
yeah,
agendas here.
yeah.
Yes, that's right. Moving on to C, which was this goes back to last year, we had put this one on hold for a bit. Did we not?
We did.
Yeah. And it was in regards to the lot sizes for
Yes,
secondary
right.
suites. and
Yeah,
garden
so,
suites. Okay.
Councilor McCabe and I had a discussion, that, as we head into the official plan, that's the place to have that discussion, because that deals with all of those issues of density. So density comes in many forms. You can have additional secondary dwelling units allowed on your property. You can have a garden suite on your property, the size of the garden suite. So from my point of view, this is an excellent segue into that discussion. You'll be able to hear back from the public. When you see the document coming from the consultants, you're going to see that they're going to be asking for every ward in the city to be contemplating some kind of responding to this issue of how do we deal with this growth that's coming. Now, that is what will happen is we can get some policy direction in the official plan, but the real teeth comes in the zoning bylaw. That's not a part of this discussion, but once it's in the official plan, the direction is really given, that we want to go in the direction of adding more dwelling units per size on a given lot, but you will have that discussion and debate will be had in the community.
Thank you. And my follow-up to that was, we were given the opportunity here from, I can't take credit, as Aaron Stafford did a presentation to our planning board, and I think we were on computer at that time initially, whether it was COVID time or whatever, but I would like to have that opportunity where we can invite him into planning board again, just to go over what his thoughts were. He's got some other creative ideas, it would be good to revisit it before we even go into the official plan part, just to become refreshed and to relook at that. So I would like that opportunity if we could.
And Madam Chair, I would fully agree with Councilor McCabe, because I'm going through his document right now. If we reduce our lot size from 0.5 acre to 0.34, there's a possibility of it developing or providing an additional 1,778 units. So those 1,778 units could be secondary apartment or a garden suite that provides more housing. And that's one of the tools that we can use to increase housing. So I would agree with Councillor McCabe that we should bring him back in. Is it Aaron Stafford? Yes, thank you.
And it was interesting because an as of right, you attach a roof line, it's an as of right build, and the minute we make it separate, it becomes an issue. So to me, it's a no-brainer if we're looking at building more housing and having more opportunities for housing. So if we could invite him in, that would be wonderful.
Great. So you can do that for us, Alex?
I can ask him. I can't make him.
Thank you. Okay.
And Madam Chair, I know we're going into a closed session, but now that we're in an open session, I just want to say a big thank you to Ellen Catani. She's leaving us today. Is this the last day? Friday. And look, she's done a great job. Ellen, how many years with the city? 6 great years. So you're going to be greatly missed. And come back anytime.
Okay.
Like, come back
Okay,
on
so
Monday.
we will, I just need a motion to move into our closed session, and it would be under our section 119 2D. No, it's not, that's not the letter, it's F, legal. So, motion, okay, moved by Counselor Beck, seconded by Counselor McCabe. All those in favor? Okay, so Ellen. Okay. Okay, we're back into open session. If I can just have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Counselor McCabe and seconded by Counselor Beck. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy your evening.